Alright folks, the title of this video is getting your i7-10700 in a B460 motherboard to act a little bit more like it would if it was a Z490. Alright, so of course we're still not going to be able to overclock the CPU. RAM, I'm not going to talk about trying to mess with the RAM. I only use the XMP and pretty much limited to the 2933 there. So what we are going to talk about is the power limits of this CPU. It's somewhat, I guess you'd say, neutered. I don't know if that's politically correct these days, but it is definitely restricted from performing like it does in default mode in the Z490. So in this video, we're going to look at three types of software. One being Cinebench, the other Intel's Extreme Utility, and then the third will be using the CPU user benchmark software. All right. So let's first go over to Cinebench. Now I've run this quite a few times, and I've actually the second time I've made this video because the audio did not come out. So what we're going to do is use Cinebench. We're going to start with 65 watts, and you're going to see what that performs at. Okay. And when I say 65 watts, the TDP of this chip is 65 watts, okay? So inside of Intel's Extreme Utility, Tuning Utility, you have this Turbo Boost Power Max. There's two different settings in here that are adjustable. And you'll see the default is 65 on this. And you see what it says there. Limits the processor's extended duration, maximum power when Turbo Boost is engaged, PL1 limit, okay? Then there's a Turbo Boost Short Power Max, okay? Right now, the default is 224, and it is set at 224. And this limits the processor's short duration maximum power when Turbo Boost is engaged, PL2. Now, I will tell you I've tried a bunch of different temperatures, or a bunch of different settings in here, and we've gotten all kinds of results, some of them better than others. All right, so before you continue, if you're going to follow along with this with your own CPU, I must warn you that you could damage your CPU. You'll see down here that inside of this we want to kind of track the temperatures, and even with my modest CPU cooler, I'm seeing 88 degrees Celsius. So I must say that if you are planning on doing with this with the stock cooler that's provided by Intel, that would be a huge mistake. You will see higher temperatures than 88 and potentially destroy your CPU. Now, CPU cooler that I'm using is the Cooler Master EVO 212. Costs about $30 to $35. I think I paid $25 back when things were cheaper. And so it's doing an okay job. I would prefer to have one of my Noctuas here with me in Hawaii, but they're back in Virginia, so not motivated to go buy another CPU cooler just for this experiment. But I would recommend something at least as good as that. All right, so we talked about that. Let's go ahead and get this going. So you see we're defaulted. This also can be changed, default sive. I'm not going to mess with it. And let's go ahead and run Cinebench. So I'm going to stop the screen recorder as it takes away resources, and you'll get to see what the score is. All right, so we ran it 65 watts, and this is basically our baseline. Now, you will see, depending on what's going on with the computer, if there's something going on in the background, that your scores may vary. And I believe they suggest that you unplug your computer from the internet, which I did not do, but you may see some improvement. I don't remember it ever actually doing anything for me, so I'm leaving it the way it is. All right, so that said, let's go back to the tuning utility. Now, if you had a 10700K and you had a Z490 motherboard, you'd see other things that you could do in here in case you've never used this software. I'd be able to change my multipliers for my cores. Locked processor, you can't change these. So that aspect of overclocking you cannot do. So let's shoot this thing way up, okay? Not to 224, but let's go. We were at 65, 160. Let's go 140. That's about the halfway point. And I would spend more time fine-tuning this so you guys could see what my optimum number is, and we may do that as we get closer to what I believe is the optimum number. So I applied this. Now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to run this again. Before I do that, though, I'm going to pause the screen recorder. All right, YouTubers. So you see that score shot way the F up, right? We were what, 3,400 something, and now we're at 4,585. So big boost. I kind of expected that, though. Let's go back and check some things. Overall temp is 88, and you know what? I think I can reset this. Clear data. There we go. So now next time we run it, we'll see what the temp gets up to. I should have did this for y'all earlier. Apologies. All right, so we're at 148, and I'm going to shoot for, I'm going to do 220, right at 220. See what that does. There's a reason I'm going 220. You can see this value right here. We're probably going to go 220. And assuming this increases, then we'll go 224. If it increases at 224, we may go 226. If it increases, I'm probably going to stop at that point and leave it up to your imagination what it's capable after that. All right, so once again, back to Cinebench, pause and recording. All right, folks, even more improvement, right? So we're at 4718. Now, I will say I've had higher scores doing this, and we may not see that high score today as I do this, but 4718, that's an improvement. I believe if you were to Google Cinebench Release 20 and the CPU, that number would probably be right around the closest to the highest number you're going to find out there. All right, so let's go 224. Apply, and once again we're going to go back to Cinebench. I'm going to pause the recording, then I'm going to hit run. All right, folks, more improvement, 4750. And let's go back to here since we reset this. Let's see what the high temp, 89. So I don't like that, folks. I don't really want to go any higher than 224. Now, I do know that I can beat this score. I've gone higher here. But yeah, 89's getting to the point where I don't really like pushing that. And so at this point, we'll just we'll say that's the end of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run user benchmark and show you what it is with the power limits adjusted and what it is without it. Okay, so let's go do that. Pause the recording. All right, folks, in this bench, you'll see modest gaming score. I believe you will see very similar scores on the top here when we do the 224 watts. This is the 65 watt version. And let's go ahead and take a look at the CPU. So it says CPU is performing above expectations. 100% outstanding, right? These scores are pretty good. Now, where this thing is not doing as good is what we're going to see for 224. It's right here, the 64 core score. And this is also much lower than what you would see if you had a Z490. So if you go ahead and click on this, which we'll do here, there is your, at least for CPU, what they got with the Z490. Okay, so definite improvement in that aspect. I believe this is comparative, but even the single core score is better on here. So let's go back, and like I said, Z490 makes an improvement. This is 65 watts, so let's check out what it does when it is allowed to go up to 224 watts. Alright, so ran CPU user benchmark. Now, I have had higher gaming score, and these other scores are very similar. Nothing spectacular there. But where you're going to see the real difference is down here. Here's the i7. I'm wondering how many of these benchmarks I've ran myself. Probably quite a few. Turbo 4.6, so that is good to see that number. Sometimes you'll see that lower on here. Performing above expectation, 68th percentile. That is actually kind of surprising this isn't higher, considering most people that buy this would buy the would probably not buy a Z490. Scoring over here, this first core score is pretty good. Now where you really see the difference in this is right here. That is considerably higher than what this i7 10700 performs in the default settings of the B460. Well, thanks for checking out the video. Hopefully you got something out of this. I eventually will probably do something when I can prove this helps your gaming. I think it seems more like this suggested to help out multi-core gaming. And so if I find a game that I actually have that I see the CPU is normally getting taxed, possibly this would help that one. Most of the games I seem to play, though, I don't really see my CPU getting taxed that much, and I haven't really noticed that much difference there. But I'm pretty sure there are some games that will see improvement. And hey, thanks for checking out the video. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.